Alright, the first step we're going to do today is set up our reader's notebook. So on your desk, here's what you need. You need that notebook that's going to be separate from and different from your writer's notebook. So you need a separate notebook. You need 3 Post-its, a pen or a pencil, and that's about it, and we're ready to roll. So have you ever heard yourself say, I can't remember what we did in class yesterday, or I'm sure all my work is sitting in my locker, or it's in my book bag in my room, or even say to yourself, geez, I was absent. Did I miss anything? Well, that's the purpose of Google Classroom, but also of your reader's notebook. It's going to help us keep track of everything that we do in class. So we'll get it all together with the reader's notebook, and here's how. It's basically a personalized book, but it is a working portfolio. This will have all the lessons that will help us with reading specifically and how to write about reading. So it's all of our notes, our classwork, all of those lessons in one convenient spot. Now, this is where we're ultimately going to end up pausing the video, so listen to me carefully. This notebook has 4 sections, although section 1, which I'm going to point to right here, the table of contents, is never numbered. So open up the notebook to the very first page, and on that first page, go ahead and write table of contents. Do not give it a page number, but instead, in your mind, count 3 pages. So that very first page where you wrote the words table of contents would be page 1. Flip it over, there's page 2, and then the next page would be page 3. Now, on the back of page 3, you'll turn it over, and this is where you'll put this new section. So we're going to take a Post-it, and we're going to write on it concepts and strategies, but that actually is page 1. Why? Because the first 3 pages we don't number because they're for the table of contents. So page 1 is considered concepts and strategies, and I want you to number the pages beginning right here from numbers 1 through 40. So pause the video and go ahead and number the pages from 1 through 40. And again, you're going to leave those first 3 pages unnumbered because they're for the table of contents. Now that you've come back and you've numbered the pages from 1 through 40, what I'd like you to do is turn to page, listen carefully, 21. On 21, you're going to label that section Reading Journal. Okay? Why? Because page 1 is concepts and strategies, and our concepts and strategies will take up a total of 20 pages. So page 21 is where we begin our reading journal. Don't worry about numbering past that page 40, so we'll have pages 21 through 40 as the reading journal. Now I want you to close the notebook and open up to the very last page of the notebook. And I want you to reserve the last 2 pages, which ends up front and back being 4 pages in total. But the last 2 pages, we're going to take the Post-it and we're going to label it the reading minute. We save the very last 4 pages, but 2 pages in total, front and back, as our reading minute. So go ahead and label that section. Now that you've done it, here's an example of my table of contents page. Notice how I have things on the back of this paper. It's just an example, but I wanted you to see. Notice there's no page number on the table of contents. So before you start thinking, what's in this reader's notebook and what could it be, let's take a look. These are the ways that we respond about reading. Notice how it's not the traditional paragraphs and essays. We'll use emotional timelines and Post-its to help us figure things out. We'll create graphs and charts, and here's one example from one student. Here's the same book, but another example from that same student of how she can respond to the reading. And then we can also create sensory figures. Notice that there's color. These pictures mean nothing to you, but they only make sense to the writer, and that's what we're going to end up doing in our reader's notebook. We'll draw pictures, we'll color them in, we'll label them. We'll also draw concept maps, and then again use color to help us make sense of it. Look at the different maps from different students. We'll do acrostics, and these aren't just general about our name. These have a lot to do with what we've read. So they'll have the name of a person or of a time period, and then we might actually draw the person in the background. Notice that this says Renaissance, and yet you have a picture here of perhaps Queen Elizabeth. So again, we'll use acrostics to help us make sense of our reading. We'll also use comic strips. I love doing that. And again, you don't have to be Picasso. We have a lot of stick figures drawing in here, but we'll use comic strips to help us make sense of what we read. We'll also use Venn diagrams and perhaps even triple Venn diagrams, and then color them in so that we can see the separation and also the crossover between the two. So what do you need to know about your reader's notebook? We never rip out pages. We don't doodle anything that has nothing to do with our notes. So don't draw a picture of Superman if we're writing about flowers, for instance. Doesn't make sense. But you could draw all the flowers you want on the page where we write about flowers. It's only for LA. I will collect the notebook, so please beware. Don't have any other classes in here. And then, of course, we always date and number each page. And that's our reading notebook. So what you need to know is that both notebooks, writers and readers, need to be decorated by the end of this week. Make sure you check the homework board.